We're gonna try some new headphones. Okay, great, much better. Okay, sorry about that, guys, and thanks for the patience. Anything else I can fix before we dive into our puzzles? All right, so first up, I tend to start with a fields puzzle. Um, Everyone has different reasons, different logic. I like fields because honestly, sometimes get stumped on fields. And so then I like being able to go to stars and come back to fields. I feel like that works better for me. So we're going to start with fields today. Here we go. Um, Wednesday, October 8th. I've never seen this puzzle before. I'm gonna dive right in. So the first thing I'm doing is looking to see if there are any gimmies, and I see a couple on this board. So in particular, I see that there are two blue sixes that are diagonal to each other. These need to be different fields. There's only one field or only one field per number. So therefore these two cannot connect. So I need to know that these need to be a green on either side of them. And then I see the same thing over here, a blue 3, a blue 5. They can't connect, so I need to drop a green between them. The other thing I see now is that this 6 needs to grow, and it only has one direction it can grow. So I'm going to grow it up, turns light blue. Now where does it grow? I'm actually not sure yet. It could go in any number of directions. So I'm going to pause there on that 6 and go and look for other places where I think that field is isolated and needs to grow, or something else might be happening. And the spot I see is actually this 6 up here. It's only one cell big right now. It needs to be a blue field of 6 cells, and the only way it can grow right now is down. Now it could grow to the left, to the right, down, over, I don't know. So I'm going to pause there and look around for some other things that might be able to happen on this board. Let's see. All right. One thing I'm seeing is, I'm going to look at this 2 in the upper left-hand corner. It can go to the right, it can go down, but it's only going to go one cell in addition to this one that already exists. So it could go right, it could go down. Those are the only two options. I don't know which one it's going to do, but what I do know is if it goes right, then this cell would have to be blue. Or if it goes down, then this cell would have to be blue. But I don't know which one it is, but therefore it tells me that this cell has to be blue. And that's actually a bit of logic that I can apply anytime I see a 2 that's backed into a corner. So here, this 2 is backed into the corner. It can go down or to the left. Again, don't know which way it's going to go, but either way, this diagonal has to be blue. So suddenly that 6 is already grown a bit. Let's go around the board and look for any other places where 2s are backed into corners. I see one right here. This 2 is backed into a corner. It can go right or it can go down. Not sure which, but let's make this diagonal one blue. This 2 is not backed into a corner. It's up against the wall, so it could go up, left, or down. I don't know which one yet, so I'm not going to put anything in there. This 2 is also backed into a corner. It's down here, bottom left. It can go up, it can go to the right. Either way, this becomes blue. Where else? I see 2 more 2s backed into corners. This one, up or right, means this one has to be blue. And this one can go up or left, meaning this cell has to be blue. So, wow, that sort of filled out a lot of my board. I'm balancing a lot of different things that are happening. And I want to emphasize that there's many different ways to solve these puzzles. This is right now my path to solve, but just because you didn't solve it this way doesn't mean that this isn't the right way, that this is the only way or the right way to solve. But this is my path on today's puzzle. And the thing that I'm noticing now is that we actually have Whoops, didn't mean to do that. That was way too big. We have two fields of blue right here, this 6 and this 6. They're both out now at 4. They're not at 6 yet. But what I notice is that I can't let them connect to each other because that would make one mega field of 8 or 9 blue cells, and then they wouldn't be distinct fields. And so both here and here, I know I need to put in greens to separate those, to keep those two blue fields from merging. In doing that, I realize that that 2 is now complete, so I like to give it its border. And this 2 is now complete, so I give it its border. And now suddenly each of these fields are almost complete. This is 5 blue, and this is 5 blue. The other thing I can do is I can mark this one green because I can't let it merge with this other cell, partly because it would merge 2 numbered fields, and also because then it would be more than 6, so I'll give that a nice green. And then over here, I also notice that it's already 5 cells. If I moved right 1 cell, I would already bump up to 7 cells because it would include this one. So I know that this one also has to be green because I need to keep it separated from this cell. In doing that, I see that I finished that 2, so let's give it its nice blue border. I noticed that that blue border actually finished this 6, so this 6 is now complete. Let's give it its green border. Boom, boom. This puzzle's starting to flow. I have a feeling this is going to help us bring us to the end. That finished this 2, so we'll give it a blue. That finished this 2 as well, so we'll give it a blue here, which finishes this 4. And don't forget the other side of it too. Now we have a 3 that needs to grow and only has one direction. So we'll drop down. That 3 is now complete, so we'll give it a green border. This green cell is an orphan cell, I like to refer to them as, and it needs to connect to a numbered field. It can only grow out one direction, and that direction is down. And in doing so, now this 4 is complete. So let's give it its blue border. Now we have a different orphan. We have a blue orphan that needs to grow. Its only direction it can grow is to the left. Doing that finished this 5. We'll drop a green cell here to give it its border. Now we have an orphan green up here. It can only grow. You see the pattern now? Sometimes our puzzle makers give us patterns. That's really fun. So now we sort of have this 4. That's finished. Let's give it its border. Again, now we have an orphan. Once you sort of learn one technique, you might get to apply it multiple times in a row. This orphan can only grow to the left. However, this is only 5, and it needs to be 6. So I see it could grow to the left here, or it could grow to the left here. Do I know which one yet? I'm actually not sure I know yet. So let's go look at other places. I see an orphan green here. It has to grow to the left. So now I have 3, but I know that I actually need to separate this field of 4 from this future field of 2. So I know that this one has to be the blue to keep them separated. That finishes out the 6. Let's drop our green 2 in. Amazing. This one needs to grow, and it has to grow up. This one's now complete. That's our final in our 6. And therefore, this one must be green to finish our puzzle. Unbelievable. A perfect game, full logic, walking us from start to finish. We solved that in 8 minutes and 8 seconds, so really proud of that for a Wednesday solve. Curious to hear from folks in the comments. Were you able to achieve solving today's field puzzle with perfect logic without having to check your results or get any hints? How did you do? Or were there any stumpers and you got stuck, which is totally fine. Hopefully this solve was helpful. So feel free to drop in the comments how you did on today's fields, and we'll head on over to stars. Not sure if everyone has seen this, but you can actually click straight into today's stars puzzle after you've solved fields and vice versa. On your phone, you may have to scroll down a little bit extra. So let's head on over to stars and see what today's stars looks like. All right. We have, I always like to add some some color to the puzzles. And I don't know, does today's puzzle kind of look like a cinnamon roll or something? Or maybe I'm just hungry and maybe it's fall, but sort of like a little cinnamon roll spiraling out. But ignore the fact that perhaps I'm hungry and excited about fall treats. What's happening in this puzzle? I like to similar to sort of looking at the cinnamon roll, I also like to look at what's happening. And I don't see a lot of crazy zigzaggy regions. I see sort of this one, the filling, but I see a lot of, one long row or two like L shapes or upside down L's. So I think some of that logic is going to come into play here today. Let's see. I see that we have one long row across the bottom. I know that's going to take 2 stars for that region. Let's see. I also see that across the top, all of the cells in the first row are in this one region, and this region encompasses this entire row. So I know that this region is going to take 2 stars, but I'm not going to be able to put any stars over here because I know I need 2 across the top. So this whole upside down backwards L of the upper right corner is going to take 2 stars, and those 2 stars are going to have to be along that top row, which means they can't be down this side. That's pretty fun because it let me place my first star already. And I'll give you a second to see if you guys see where that's going to go. But what it actually is that this column now only has 2 options and it needs 2 stars. So we're going to have to get to place 1 star here. And don't forget to X out the cells touching it. And then 1 star here. And this cell touches it. And don't forget this one either, the diagonal. So that's really cool. We got to place some stars pretty early on in this game. In doing so, the next thing I see is suddenly now this column, this region encompasses all of this, but this column is all within this one region. So I can use that same logic now and apply it in reverse to the left. I know I can't have any cells in any of these cells, any stars in any of these cells, because I know I need 2 in this column. It didn't help me narrow this column enough to place these stars, but now I'm going to look at this row. This row now only has 3 options, and 3s are like the gimmies of stars. Whenever we see a 3, we know we can't have a star in the middle because it touches 2 on the outside. Therefore, we must have stars on either end. So let's cross out everything that touched those stars we just placed, diagonals and adjacent. And in addition to completing that row, we also completed this region. So I can cancel all these out as well. Let's see. I was really tempted just now to say, oh, and now we have 3 up here. But remember, we already have a star in this row. So I know I'm going to need 1 in here, but not 2. So that doesn't quite help me out. Let's see, where to next on this board? All right. I see a few spots where I could narrow 1 or 2 things out. It's not as exciting as I would hope, but let's just walk through some of those. So up next, I'm looking at this region. It used to be a U, a C. It used to be a C region. Now I'm down to an L, a normal forward-shaped L. And one thing I'm trying to look at is, where are the stars going to go in this shape? And one thing I'm thinking about is, could both stars be along this tall arm? And the answer is no. At most, I could only have 1 star along this arm because I already have 1 star in this column. So that tells me at least one of the stars has to be in one of these 2 cells. And I'll just repeat that again. If I hadn't placed this star here, we could have 2 stars along here. But because I have a star already in this first column, I know that at most I can get 1 star into here. Therefore, I must need 1 here or here. And when I have a pair of cells that I know a star can live between, I can do some X logic. For example, I know that this cell touches both of those, so no matter where the star is down here, I can't have a star here. The same is true for here, it touches both of these, and then on the bottom, these two as well. So I know I have to get a star into one of these two, but I'm not sure which one yet. The other thing I know from this sort of logic is I said I could have 0 or 1 star down this column because I already had one. Therefore, I had to have one over here. The other thing I realized is I actually can only put one over here. I can't fit 2 stars in these 2 columns. Therefore, I know I need to have one somewhere along here, not sure where, but that tells me that's going to be the second star for this column, which means I can actually X out this cell as well, because I couldn't place a star here, because then it would kill the rest of this column and I wouldn't have enough to fill this region. It's kind of crazy that I'm so focused on this one region and yet I haven't actually placed a star, but I did manage to cross out a lot of possibilities and that's really helpful. I don't know if there's anything else quite now that I can do in that region, so I'm going to go look at other areas of the board. Let's see. The next area of the board I'm going to look at, this is a funky one, is this column. I haven't placed any stars in this column yet, and I know I'm going to need 2. And the other thing is it crosses a lot of regions, which makes it look kind of ugly. But there's a key piece of logic here in this column that is going to help clean my board up quite a bit. And that's, there's only 4 spots left for 2 stars. And basically, if I think about it, the only possibilities is to do here and here. You know, they have to be separated from touching. Or here and here. Again, separated. I don't know what that pairing is, but I do know that there's going to be 2 stars and they have to be separated. And so it's almost like I can treat them as 2 pairs. There's a pair here, and there's a star in the top or the bottom. And then there's a pair here. And again, the star will be in the top or the bottom. Or I guess the other possibility indeed is this. But again, it's 2 pairs, and there is a star in each of those pairs. And so just like over here, when I knew when there was a pair, we couldn't have a cell on either side of them, the same thing is true here. If this is the pair, I can't have a star here, 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 or here. And then the same thing is true here. If this is the pair down here, I can't have a star here, 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 or here. So again, suddenly just was able to, in looking at this column, not make any placements in this column, but find some other options outside the column that I can remove. I see one thing, really key thing happened, and I always love when this happens, is this backwards L used to be a backwards L, now is a single column, so I can cancel out every other cell in that column. Let's see, what else? The same thing is true of this one. This one, oh wait, we've already canceled that. All right. Where else should I go here? This is a small little inference, but we'll take anything we can get. This region has 1, 2, 3, 4 potential cells and needs 2 stars. And so there's different ways I can look at this, but I can actually make one exclusion based on this current shape and the layout. And that's that this cell cannot contain a star. And why is that? The answer is that there may be a star down here, or there isn't. But if there is a star down here, there has to be a star somewhere across these 3, and this cell touches all of those 3. The alternate is that if there's no star down here, there actually has to be 2 stars across these 3, and in that case, this one definitely touches all 3 of those. So this cell gets X'd out because I know across the possibilities to get 4 stars, into, or 2 stars into these 4 cells, no matter what this one is going to touch. And then I can actually kind of apply the same logic here. I have a single cell up here, and then 3 down here. No matter what, if I have a star here and 1 somewhere down here, this cell touches all 3 of those. There's no way to get 2 stars into the remaining 4 cells of this region without at least one of the stars touching here. All right. I feel like I might be missing something big because I'm sort of picking off small little updates, but that's okay. They all help us make progress. Where to next? Let's see. Y'all are welcome to jump in too in the comments. If sometimes it's so much easier to see something else than your own board. Here we go. Let's look at this row. Row 3. We've canceled out quite a few things. It's just like what was happening before in this column earlier. But I need 2 stars, and I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 cells left. And so again, that's like 2 pairs, meaning this pair on the left, this pair on the right. And we know that we can't have any stars touching on the top. And then on the bottom across this pair, you can't have across those 2 or those 2. What's really fun about that is that made our regions a little bit easier to solve, but even better, it made this row a lot easier to solve. This row is now down to what I consider like the magic 3. And so again, we can put a star here and here because that's the only option in this row. Joe, you're always ahead of me. I love it. I'm going to have you do some solves in the future. So we canceled out all the cells touching these stars. We also noticed that this column is now complete. I'll swipe in those X's. Now this region only has 1 spot left for a star. This column now only has 1 spot left for a star. Let's see, everything touching them is gone. Let's look across the row. Don't see anything there. All right, let's look at this region now. I've got 3 spots left, but I noticed that these 2 spots touch each other. So at max, between these 2 cells, I can only fit 1 star in. I could put a star here or here. But that means that the other star must go up here. So that's great. I can now place a star. I can cancel out the cell that's touching. Then I can drop down. Here we go. This column in this region only has 3. That sort of magic 3 that we love to see in stars. So I place my 2 stars separated. Cancel out everything that touches them. Don't forget the corner. This feels great. I can see how we're going to reach the end. There's so many paths to pursue here, but I'm going to look at this region. There's only 1 spot left in this region. That finished this row. Now this region is a giant region full of X's with only 2 spots for stars. Let's drop those stars in. We'll drop some X's in that touch. This column is complete. This column only has 1 spot left. That's the last one in that row. This column needs another star. Here we go. This row only has 1 spot left. This column. There we go. Love it. I hope this was helpful for you. It took us a little longer to find the logic in stars today than fields. Sometimes it's the opposite for me. Would love to hear from you all. Were you able to solve this stars game? Did this logic make sense? Are there certain techniques that you really want us to hammer in on future solves? I'll stay online here for a second. There's a bit of a lag, but drop any questions you have in the comments, and I'd be thrilled to answer them. That could include if you were stuck on a Monday or Tuesday puzzle this week. Happy to go through those if that's helpful. Yeah, let us know. Cool. Not seeing any comments come through. I'll give it just another second or two, and then I'll stay tuned online to see if you guys have any questions in the insiders. Cool. Thank you all, everyone. Have a great day.